Too often we're complacent, or we wait to be seen, or we diminish our self worth, and we become very comfortable, yet we're unhappy. So, today we're going to talk all around owning our greatness with confidence and self advocacy with our career coach, Diana Chan. Let's start the countdown. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. I want to welcome you all to the Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show. So excited for everyone to be here. And I see a whole bunch of folks joining us as we go through here, folks from Phoenix, Vana from Washington State. How cool. Enjoying some vitamin D outside. And got a Canadian in here. Sarah from Toronto. Welcome, welcome. And as always, we have some of our regulars, Yolanda from Frisco. And I see Sarah from North Carolina. So welcome, everybody. Please introduce yourselves in the comments of their feed. My name is Fanny Dunnigan. I'm the host for Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show, where we come to you featuring content creators from a whole variety of backgrounds and industries to share their tips and tools and tales with you around content creation. So thank you for joining us. And I can see folks coming in here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, introduce yourself. Tell people what you do. You never know who you'll meet. Increase your network, increase your connections through the comments of this feed, and make sure you introduce yourself and tell people where you're tuning in from, and use this opportunity to build your network. So thank you for joining us. And I want to quickly bring on our community manager, who make sure everything runs smoothly in the comments of the show and make sure that I don't miss any questions. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Ann Small. Hey, Ann, how are you?
Excited. Thank you, Fanny. Very
Yeah.
happy to be here.
Let people know what you're going to do today.
Okay. So I'm going to be looking in the comments for the best question, for the best comment. And at the end, there is going to be a prize. So, and on top of that, little secret is we're going to have a big announcement. So you're not going to want to miss the
Yes.
end.
Yes, for sure. So be sure to ask your questions. We have an amazing career coach today that has tons of great advice and insights. So get your questions ready for the show. Thank you, Anne. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, so today we're going to go straight into it. I'm not going to do my content tip of the week because I have a big announcement that something launching very soon for our Pathlinks team here. So we're going to get straight to the star of the show, and I would like all of you to help me in welcoming Diana Chan to the show. Hey, Diana, how are you?
Hi, Fanny. So wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you're coming to us from Toronto, Canada, my hometown.
Yay! So glad to be finally connected on your show.
Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. I want to read to everybody your bio here. Everyone, this is Miss Diana Chan. She's an accomplished personal branding and storytelling coach dedicated to guiding individuals towards success and fulfillment in their business and career. With over 6,000 hours of one-on-one coaching and a track record of helping thousands of people pivot their careers and position themselves for success with confidence. That's the key. Diana brings a wealth of credibility to her work. She's a frequent speaker to prestigious organizations such as the United Nations, amazing Fortune 500 companies, delivering transformative insights and empowering audiences worldwide. Her expertise is also recognized by her role as a 5-time LinkedIn Learning instructor, further solidifying her reputation as a trusted authority in the field. And through her engaging speaking engagements, insightful guidance, and practical strategies, Diana equips individuals with the tools needed to navigate the professional landscape and achieve their goals with confidence. And with her guidance, individuals unlock their greatness, advocate for themselves, and embark on a remarkable journey towards success and fulfillment. I feel inspired just reading that, Diana.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction, the warm welcome for your audience. I see a lot of folks saying hello and welcome me.
Yes, we've got some Canadians in there.
What Canadians here I saw.
Yes, I love it. So, real quick, we're talking all about owning our greatness with confidence and self advocacy. But we didn't always start there, right? Please share with the audience a bit of your content creation journey and how you ended up being a career coach.
Yeah. So I've always had this philosophy of doing what you love and love what you do. That's always been my philosophy. And I always, even since I was young, was like, live with passion, live with purpose, and live to your fullest potential. So the last 12 years, I've been self employed as a coach, speaker, and trainer. And it's because I have this huge passion of helping people unlock their fullest potential. So even prior to starting my own business, I worked in corporate with 10 different jobs, even though I have diverse jobs in like marketing, operations, training, recruitment, consulting. The core theme of what I love was always around working with people, helping them really position themselves for success, helping them figure out what they love doing. So essentially back in 2011, that's when I started my business. And it was actually what happened with what the catalyst to the story was actually that I actually lost my job. And that was the opportunity for me to the launch pad of launching my business. And it's been so rewarding to help so many people now, like thousands of people all over the world, to pivot their career. That's something that's more meaningful, fulfilling to them. And how I became a content creator was like back in 2013, I started blogging. I started doing blogging. I had like 200 blog posts. I really enjoyed it. And then fast forward to 2018, I decided to start doing like video content creation on LinkedIn.
Ah,
And I took the 10-day, 10 video challenge. I just recorded
yes.
videos on my phone and I got hooked from that. And then since then, I've just been consistently creating content. And over the last several years, I really evolved to more like storytelling type of content in 2021. 2020, I did more my live stream show. That's when I started my own show as well, because I wanted to connect with people there. And then this past year, I started doing more short form type of videos, and I love it. So a big part for me is experimenting, having fun with the content, and it's
Yeah.
all about adding value there.
I love it. Where were your blogs? I'm curious.
It was on my website. So I used
Ah,
WordPress. I had a blog. I had a blog there, but honestly, I took
awesome.
it down now because I feel like it's a bit outdated. But I was
Ah,
just talking to my VA earlier this morning, is that I should probably bring it back for SEO purposes there, or
mm,
repurpose that content because I have such
yes.
like rich content back in the day. But since I moved over to another platform, I took that down there.
I love it. And for those of you out there, let us know if you've had a career pivot in the audience, because that's one of the things that we'll be talking about on this show. And as you can see, Diana also had this. I've had the big, huge career pivots. Let us know one of your career pivots in the comments of the show. I'm not sure why my screen has been blacking out, but anyways, I'll try to remain very, very still here. So speaking of like things that are outdated, what's something that you've kind of seen change over the years as far as careers? Something that you feel like is outdated from when you first wrote about it, several years ago?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I would say, because I've been doing this for the last 12 years, what I have seen the last 2 years, essentially since the pandemic, is people are searching for more meaning and more fulfillment in their careers. I feel like the traditional 9 to 5, which is what I've been doing a lot of, helping people get the traditional type of jobs in corporate, that's no longer the case now. Like, people are looking for either remote work, flexible work, working from home, or where they get to travel, or fractional roles. Like, that's a common term you probably hear for those who are in senior roles, like fractional, chief marketing officer, chief financial officer. Those essentially, what I see is essentially becoming like the CEO of your own career. And this is why I believe that personal branding is so important, because you're constantly could be pitching yourself for various opportunities. And what I have seen now, especially this past year, even my own clients, within a year or so, they are looking for that next move. And part of it is because people are no longer tolerating just having a job. They want something that is more meaningful, more impactful, more fulfilling, more flexibility and freedom there.
Wow. Yeah. And I see it too. Like, I see here from our audience, Barbara launched her own business, right? People are taking things into their own hands and not necessarily relying on corporate to take care of them, right? The days of
Yeah.
long-term roles are kind of over. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, I did a show this morning on how to navigate a career change, and I had some like really interesting stats, right? Like, it talked about how these days now, like, people are looking to change jobs every 12 months. Every
12
12 months.
months.
Yeah,
Holy
every 12
smokes.
months. What's the other stat? 91% of the millennials expect to change job every 3 years, right? 30% of the workforce are looking to change every 12 months. And like last year in the US, like 50 million people quit their jobs. Over a lifetime, people have 10 to 15 times, will have changed careers 10 to 15 times. So it's no longer a exception. It's
Mm,
actually a reality. And it's actually
mm,
so important when we talk about this topic of confidence, is that we need to
yeah.
be well equipped on navigating these changes and these pivots with
Yes.
confidence. And you need
Yes.
to be able to position yourself for success, promote yourself confidently, knowing your unique value and what differentiates you to attract those right opportunities there. And this is why I love what you do, Fanny, because I really see like those who are becoming content creators will
Mhm.
have a competitive edge
Yeah.
because you are amplifying your voice, you're amplifying your own value out in the world,
Mhm.
you're more likely to be discovered.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that's one of the reasons we discovered each other was through Orlando,
Yes.
his career podcast. And we should tag Orlando in here. And because he did a post, I think he repurposed one of the videos. And then you were also on his show. I was on
Yeah.
his show. And then we kind of met in the comments. And then
Yeah.
from there, here we are. So
And that's the beauty
I
of it,
love it.
right? That's the
Mhm.
beauty of it is as we as content creators, we go on each other people's shows and we discover other people. And this is where the magic comes. It's like collaborating, discovering opportunities.
Yes,
That's how you unlock those opportunities there.
absolutely. So the challenge though sometimes is, in building our brands, we're not quite sure how to do that. What are common challenges that you're seeing when it comes to building brand and making these kind of career pivots?
Yeah, such a great question, right? The common challenge that I see when it comes to brand building and making a career pivot is number one, is the lack of clarity.
Mhm.
Clarity on what you want to go after or what are you want to be known for, lack of that clarity. When you have a lack of clarity, it's very hard for you to communicate your value with confidence and with conviction. So that's the number one piece is that gaining more clarity. And so this is why I talk a lot about soul searching before job searching, before you launch into anything, right? Like really tap into that soul of like what fulfills you there. The second piece is really around that lack of confidence, right? Tying back to this topic is that a lot of times there's this fear, like, do I have what it takes? Do I need to
Yep.
start from the ground up? Will I need to take a step back? Will I be earning less? So there is a lot of that uncertainty or confidence piece there. And so it's so important to actually get clear on your why. Why are you making this change? Why do you want this? Why do you believe you'll be successful and what value that you bring there? And when you have that, you're going to be able to communicate with greater confidence and
Mhm.
in a compelling way. And the third piece is really that lack of strategy. So what I see right now is for especially for those, if you've had the same career for over a decade, like, raise a hand or those type in, if you've been in the same role for
Yes.
over like a decade and you haven't had to look for a job or you haven't had to change a job, there's a lot of unknown because that's landscape has changed a lot. So the question is like, where do I start? And by default, most people will look at job boards and they'll just apply. And so there's not really a strategy or plan in place to make it an effective search or be able to pivot into something exciting for them there. So
Mhm.
having that game plan is going to make a huge difference. And the reason being is that if you understand, let's say you've done a research of what you're going after and you know what the hiring manager is looking for, or what's important to the client, for example, you'll have a better game plan of how to tailor your messages to them that will increase the odds of success there.
So there you go, folks. Clarity, confidence, and a strategy. I love that.
Yes.
Um, and I can see in the comments here, we have several people that have gone through pivots. Paige Ryan, company in healthcare abruptly closed. So she bought a franchise. That's awesome, Paige. That helps others find their own franchises. There you go. Pivoting careers and industry. And we have Vana here as well. X-ray technician, and due to health had to leave, and now an international tutor, loves to
Wow.
proofread. So very, very big pivots here,
Yes.
um, and yet it's all possible,
It's
right?
possible.
I
And that's
love
my
that.
message. I want to remind people that it's totally possible. I feel like right now, even though, yes, there's all the competition, but at the same time, there is the possibilities are limitless, especially with the growth of technology and AI. There are going to be
Mhm.
so many new jobs or newly created roles that
Yeah.
require your skill set, right? So get really clear on like what are those new opportunities, but also like what is it that you want to do more of as well there.
Yeah. And even for those of you in the audience that are entrepreneurs, we also need clarity in our business, right? We have a big world or big audiences or big prospects that we can serve, but also having clarity around that. Wouldn't you say, Diana?
Absolutely. Well, I recently hosted my own business mastermind retreat in Mexico, and it was
I
like with
saw those
fellow
photos.
entrepreneurs,
They're so
with
beautiful.
fellow coaches, and they were all career coaches. What was fascinating is that even though we're all career coaches, we all have our own unique niche. So for those who are entrepreneurs here, one of the key things is also really understanding your target market, your audience, of who you serve, what are their pain points, what are their goals, what are those words that they use so that you can tailor your messages accordingly, right? That's really, really important. Like even all 8 of us, we're all career coaches, but
Yeah.
we all have different niches. Like some focus on the job search, some focus on promotions, some focus on like women of color, some focus on like new immigrants. And so getting really clear of that niche is going to really help you even create content and
100%.
stories that will resonate with them.
100%. And I love the fact that, a lot of times you think people with similar professions are competing against each other, but you guys were all there collaborating.
Collaborating. Yeah,
Right?
collaboration over competition. And that's what made it beautiful, right? And when you can also see it that way, like we're not competing, we're actually supporting and growing with each other. And the beauty of that, this is where for those who are entrepreneurs, right? Look for ways where you're complementary to each other.
Yeah.
So as an example, let's say I focus on a lot on like pitching yourself, interview coaching, speaking and presentations, and someone else focus more on like internal advancement. They don't do anything related to interviews, for example. They could refer them to me. Or someone who is a great resume writer and I don't do that, I can refer them as well. So if you can look for those essentially people that you can are complementary to each other, that's a great collaboration to help you grow your business there. I used to have a resume writer that I partnered with for over 3 years. And I offered a combo service of one-on-one coaching with writing service. And I was able to increase the pricing because of the added value.
Yes. Yes. And like finding those, complementary skills, right? We don't have to know it all, but we have a network to know it all. But it is a very crowded space, right, Diana? There's so many content creators, so many things going on. Any tips on how to stand out when it comes to branding yourself, especially during career pivots?
Yes. Oh, I love this question. How to stand out to get more opportunities. So this is like my formula that I talk a lot about how to stand out. As my four key pillars here is number 1 is you want to increase your marketability. So this is essentially that you want to be more in demand, more marketable. And in order to do that, you want to work on elevating your brand, elevating your market value, right? That you have valuable skill sets to offer there. Number 2 is increasing your credibility. So this is around having testimonials, success stories, getting referrals, recommendations, getting featured in the media or appearing as a guest speaker. All of that's going to increase your credibility. The third piece is around increasing your visibility, right? So really being top of mind, getting yourself out there. So this is around like being that content creator, creating content, being a thought leader, speaking, whatever that is putting yourself out there, and also networking, right? When you're networking, attending events, all of that's going to increase that visibility where you are top of mind and known there. And the last piece is likability. So likability is all around that soft skills of the communication skills, relationship building skills. Is that essentially you want to be able to build relationships with people so that people would want to work with you there. So when you work on all these 4 elements, naturally you're going to stand out and get more opportunities. So I want to ask the audience, like out of these 4, which one you want to work more on? Is it marketability? Is it visibility, credibility, or likability? Right? When you work on all 4 pillars, guarantee you're going to amplify.
I love that.
Those
And while they're replying, I want to highlight some of the things that I've seen here in the comments. Sarah just saying that love that we're all here to support each other. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sarah here says, as an entrepreneur, so an entrepreneur within a corporation, she has found huge value in posting content and helping her find her voice. How I speak about the issues that matter to me, not how the brand speaks about the issues. Great for relationship building. Yes, indeed. And then to your point about niching, the narrower the message, the more amplified you become. Yes, Greg. Yes.
Absolutely.
I do want to point out this question that Corrine has for you, Diana. Can you expand upon asking ourselves like the right questions? What kind of questions should we be asking ourselves?
Is this around asking us, like, when it comes to making a pivot or
I think
change,
clarity and
how to gain the
niche.
clarity, how the niche? Okay, that's a good. Okay, So in terms of the type of questions to ask yourself, a few things. When it comes to clarity, whether you're looking to change careers, let's say even your business, you're looking to pivot, I think it's one, you really want to get clear on a few things. Number one is your interest, right? What do you really care about? What are your interest areas? Getting clear on your strengths. What are you really good at? These days, I really like to focus more on your zone of genius, like what you're exceptionally great at doing, and also what you just absolutely love there, right?
How do you
And
find your zone of genius, Diana?
how do you
Is
find your
there
zone of
a method
genius?
to it?
Well, I mean, part of it's also over time of experience. Like, what's that feedback you always get from people that they tell, like, you're so good at this. You want to, pay attention to that. Like, you can survey people. The second is around like the results that you get for people there, right? Like, that's also showcase the impact that you have. Like, for example, for me, I always hear from people that my ability to help people connect the dots, helping them really see their potential, to see the possibilities for them. And so, how do you amplify that even further? Right. So, you ask yourself that. The other piece is getting clear on your core values of like what really matters to you. What do you stand for? Right. Though these are just some questions, but essentially it's getting to your essence of who you are, what you want, what's important to you. So that's the baseline to start. And then the other piece is looking at like what is in demand, right? What is the need? Like what are the challenges or problems in the world right now that you can help solve there, right? But if I want to keep it simple here, because I'm also going through this also transition or elevating my business now, having been in business for 12 years, is I want to really get people to like really tap into their heart and soul. Right? You can do all this like
Yes.
analysis and getting like really niche and all that. Sometimes like analysis paralysis, where you'll get even more confused. But when you ask yourself a simple question, like my friend asked me this, is like, does this speak to your soul? Do you get excited talking about it? Like for me, like I get really excited talking about personal branding. I get excited talking about confidence. I get excited talking about storytelling. So when I know that gets me excited, I'm really good at helping people do that. You want to amplify that even further.
Yes. Oh, I love it. And we're getting all the comments in here. So to your question, Michelle is interested in marketability. And we have here, Sarah's interested in visibility. Barbara talks about marketability as well, how to stand out, more marketability. Another one from David. So maybe dive a little bit deeper into marketability for us, Diana.
Yeah, absolutely. So my company name is My Markability. So, so I can definitely talk more about this around markability. So the way I look at it, markability goes back to personal branding. So let me define what this means. Like my most popular talk that I get invited to talk about is around personal branding. And the way I like to think about it is personal branding is about how you want people to experience you. So think of a wedding planning, right? When you go to like a wedding, it's about how you want to make your guests feel, which represents the essence of who you are, right? At a wedding, it represents the couple, right? It has this theme and vibe. And that's what personal branding is all about. It's getting clear on the essence of who you really are, right? It's really getting clear on what truly differentiates you, what makes you unique, right? That's all about helping you getting clear on that brand to help you elevate that markability. And I want to highlight like one of the pieces I always get asked is how to identify my unique value. Like what is my unique value? So I'm going to walk you through like some simple steps to think about. Number one is to identify your core area of expertise, right? What are you known for in terms of knowledge, skills, and experience? Right? Knowledge, skills, and experience, looking at your expertise. Step two is evaluating your track record of success. So this is what I call the proof, the evidence of support, like your accomplishments, the results, the value, the tangible contribution there. Okay, so then you look at these two. The third step is around connecting the dots. Based on the expertise you have and your track record of success, what's that X factor? What truly, really differentiates you there? So as an example, for me, one of the ways that I've been able to differentiate over the years in the career coaching space is that I come from a recruiting background. I've recruited for top companies like Google, recruited for like a top MBA school. So one of my differentiation factors, the way I talk about it, is I help you differentiate as top talent, the top 1%. Right? And I also talk about how with my recruiting background, I have screened thousands of resumes, millions of LinkedIn profiles. So I understand what the employer is looking for, and I can help you tailor to that. And so the key thing here that will help you increase this is that you want to talk about the benefits of hiring you. When we talk about the differentiation, it's all about the benefits. How can I
Yes.
help you? What are your promise statements? So when you can start talking about these value add or promise statements, naturally you're going to become more in demand because you're speaking their language. The common mistake people make is really talking more just about them, of what they've done versus what can I do for you? How can I
Yes.
help you? How can I help you achieve your goals? How can I help you solve your problems?
I love it. And I see here question from Sarah. Speaking of visibility, what's your opinion on speaking for free at events? Have you done it and would you do it again? What are your thoughts about that?
Great question, Sarah. Sarah, I'm curious, like how long have you been speaking for? I've been speaking for the last decade, like at least 12 years now. I've done a lot of speaking events when I first started over a decade ago. I actually started speaking for free at universities,
Yes.
nonprofits, professional associations. And so I've definitely spoken like for free many times. Like I can't even count now. Like I used to speak like 50 events a year and I would just go out and speak. And so the way I look at it, why I would do that, part of it's one, starting out. Second is increasing my visibility and credibility. But third is also lead generation, right? So for me, I've actually, the way I looked at it is that every time I speak to at least 100 people, I know through my tracking that I would get at least a handful of clients, meaning they
Yes.
convert, right? So every 100 people I get, I'll probably get 3 to 5 new clients. So the way I look at it is I'm earning money from the back end, not the
Yeah.
front end there, right? These days, I don't speak as much for free just because now with all the experience I have, like they're all more paid gigs, unless it's more speaking for free as a guest speaker on like a live stream show, a podcast, collaboration with other like coaches or speakers. That's different there, right?
Yeah. And you're probably busier too. So your
I'm
time
busier,
has become more
exactly.
valuable.
Exactly, right, become more busier, but I think it's totally okay to speak for free, like, at the beginning, but as you get more experience and you get more confident, like, for me, like, once I started developing my signature talk and I got people asking me to deliver the same speech over and over again, like, I just knew, "Okay, this is a great talk."
Yeah.
I need to start
Yeah.
charging more for it there.
Your
Yeah.
market tells you the
Exactly.
appropriateness,
Your
right?
marketability
Yeah.
increases. So this
Yeah.
is where the confidence come in. I want to touch a little bit, a piece on here is
Mm,
how as you get more experience and as you get more competent, your confidence increases,
yeah.
right? And perhaps also even your audience in terms of what they're looking for or the caliber or the level of organizations that hire you would increase, right? I started off
Mhm.
speaking with at nonprofits, universities where they typically had a really either low or minimum type of budget.
Yeah.
And now I'm speaking for bigger organizations like Fortune 500 companies. Like last year, I tripled
UN, right?
my
United
UN, like I
Nations?
tripled my prices because I
Yeah.
went from being a Canadian, a charging Canadian price,
Mm,
to charging in the US
mhm.
Fortune 500 company pricing. I knew, even though I was so scared, but I did my research and I talked to other fellow speakers that if I went on a much lower pricing, they would not have valued me as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would
There's
not have
something
valued
to
me as
be
much.
said about higher pricing and, like, people attaching a value to that, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I think this is where it's part of it. You gotta do your due diligence and also know your audience of like what kind of clientele are
Mm,
they, right? Do they have that budget? If they do, what's the range here that you should be playing in there?
great. Now, the title of the show is Owning Our Greatness, right? And I want to get to that. Um, and this ties into a question that I saw from Corrine, right? About what is this definition of greatness, our greatness? Because a lot of times it gets mistaken with, if we're going to talk about our greatness, we're bragging and we're narcissists or we're full of ego. Why don't you kind of clarify the misconceptions around that, Diana?
Yeah. So first of all, like the definition of greatness, like for me, you're owning your greatness means really owning your zone of genius, like really owning what you're amazing at, what your superpowers are, what you're just naturally talented at. That's all about owning your greatness, right? So my saying is that when you own your greatness with confidence, you'll shine and thrive. Right, like you're really stepping into it, and you can feel it. Like let's just feel like when you're really stepping into that greatness piece, you just really are more natural in the way you communicate, the way you show up, your body language, all helps with that there.
And you're full of
And
energy
you're
too,
full
right?
of energy. You're
Yeah.
full of energy as well, right? And so I really believe this because what I've seen with a lot of my clients who lack, let's say, that confidence piece, oftentimes is they don't believe in their value, right? They don't believe in their value, or they don't know what their value is, right? So, if people ask me, like, how do I really build my confidence? I want to say, first of all, is we need to take the time. Most people don't do this, is we need to actually take the time to acknowledge ourselves. Taking the time to honor how far we've come, celebrating our achievements, giving ourselves a pat on the back. Like, how often, especially for like being a high achiever, that we're just achieving that next goal, the next big thing, and then like, what's the next big thing? And then you're like, okay, like, what's next? But are we really taking the time to be like, wow, I'm so proud that I did this. Wow, like, this is so freaking amazing. And so by doing that, what's going to happen is what? We're going to start valuing ourselves more. Right? We're going to start valuing ourselves more, valuing our own worth more. Right? And so it's so, so important to take this first step. You make acknowledgement. And if you're not sure what your value is, like, you really need to take the time to identify your value. Right? Take the time to do assessments, ask people, like send out a survey, a Google survey, like, what's the impact I have on you? What the words you would use to describe me? Get a sense of that and create a word cloud, like identifying your value, right? So it's a great way to see, like, what are the common themes and patterns. Now, the next step, once you identify your value, is you got to believe in your value, right? So often when I help clients prepare for their interviews, they have an idea what their value is, meaning they've identified it, but they're not really believing it yet, right? It's not, oh, I really believe in this. And so this is part of the mindset, like, how do you see yourself? Right? Do you see yourself as a high performer, a value-added employee, or an awesome like coach or speaker, or not? Right? Because if you don't, then it's hard for you to convince others. And then the third piece then is around voicing your value, right? Meaning that you need to talk about your value of what you bring to the table to convince others, to influence others. And if you don't do that, it's hard for them to buy you. Like, why should they buy you? Like, one of the questions I always practice with my clients is, why should they hire you?
Yeah.
Why are you the best person to hire? What makes you unique? And you know what the mistake is, Fanny, here? A lot of times people will just talk about, oh, I have X years of experience. I worked in this role. I have this skill. That's nice, but what's the so what of it? Because of these skills and experience I have, I can help you solve this problem. I can help you achieve this goal. We can improve sales by this. We can optimize this. So you want to talk about the so what that tailors it back to them.
Perfect. I want to give a quick shout out to some of our former guests who are actually in the audience today and tying into this topic here. Mark Herrera, not bragging when you talk about your capabilities. He's an amazing speaker, speaking around security at events, former SWAT as well. So shout out to you, Mark. And Ilya was talking about speaking at universities. He's found your comments inspiring, and he was recently asked to speak at a university.
Amazing.
Congrats, Ilya.
I
That's
love
awesome.
university. It's a great energy. Like, one thing, I'll tell you something, I'll share. Back in the day, this was like 10 years ago, I told myself, I'm going to do my own version of TED Talk here. I'm going to go around the university to give my signature talk. And so literally in like 2 months, like back to school time, September, October, I traveled around like Toronto, like London, Ontario, like all these like cities here to give my own talk in front of like hundreds of students. And the way I did it was I partnered with students. I reached out to student clubs where, they have like the presidents and VP of whatever, like sponsorship, partnerships. I just reached out to them. I created like a registration website, like Eventbrite, and you get the students to promote it.
Yeah.
And you just show up with a live audience there. Like, I loved it. Like, that was my own. I said, that's like my own TEDx talk that I did, like traveling around Canada.
And it's like a practice ground, right? You're serving them, and at the same time, like just gathering more confidence, more credibility,
Totally.
And just really being in your element, right?
Totally. And you know what's interesting? A lot of these students, younger students, like over the years, they became my clients as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that, you and I, when we connected, we had a chat around a lot of the similarities we've had in our backgrounds, right? Growing up Chinese, growing up in an Asian environment. How having parents that didn't necessarily promote confidence and self-advocacy, and kind of like that, the good kind of student, the good child was the one that only spoke up when asked and just kind of like followed the rules. And but nowadays, we both speak for a living, we
Yeah.
create content, right? So share a little bit about that journey of, from your childhood to now, and now like really owning that fact of like advocating for yourself.
Yeah, I love this question. Thank you for asking this because I was definitely not confident growing up. Coming originally from Hong Kong, born in Hong Kong, coming in a very strict Asian household, there weren't many compliments, and it was a lot of criticisms as well. And it was really
Yeah.
taught to not rock the boat, not speak up, obey your parents, be respectful. So a lot of these traditional values, which I know is still very, very important. And for me, I would say I feel like I definitely silenced myself a lot when I was younger, but at the same time, it actually got me a bit, I guess, rebellious as well in my teenage
Mm.
years. I would say a little bit of that. Oh, what if? What if I tried something? What if I did this there? And so when I moved to Canada when I was 16, my parents decided to send me here for a better future in education. I still had a very soft voice. Like in business school, where like 50% of our grades were based on participation marks, I had the softest voice in class. I was told by professors that I need to speak up or I will fail. I would drop out of business school or that I would not be able to make it. And that was the point where I'm like, oh, I really need to do something. I need to start speaking more or speaking up more, right?
Yeah.
I've always just had a softer voice, but I've always also enjoyed having meaningful one-on-one conversations. So how I worked around that in terms of part of speaking up more was I start writing my notes down on a post-it note. So I would just write it and then look at it and then I'll raise my hand and I start speaking. And I
Mm.
was so nervous. Like I would always just speak from the notes because part of it's because English was not my first language. I was worried about, getting the wrong thing. But over time, how did I start advocating for myself more? Was I would say it wasn't really until I've seen other people advocating for me that it basically encouraged and empowered me to advocate for myself. So, what I mean
Mm.
by that was that prior to even starting my business, I've had multiple times where people in my network would advocate for me by recommending me to opportunities for like my first consulting job out of my MBA. Like my previous boss recommended me, even though I got multiple rejections. Or when I got to work at Google as the first and only recruiter in Canada, it was my MBA classmate who recommended me.
Mm.
Or when I got to work as a recruiter at my alumni MBA school, it was because my undergrad classmate recommended me. So they all saw something in me. And it really made me think about, okay, what is it that they saw in me that I need to start owning more about? And
Mm.
it all had to do with around people, right? In terms of having an interest in people, curiosity of people, bringing out the best in people. So I knew that was my theme. And that's how I start essentially advocating for myself. And then over time, in the last 12 years in my own business, I essentially learned that pretty much every week when I get on a sales call, not only I'm getting to learn about this potential client, but I'm also pitching my own service. So I need to be advocating for my own work as well. And the way I think about it is that we need to really let people know what we're all about in order to stand out. And I want to talk back about the bragging piece. Like someone talked about this, the bragging piece here. A
Yes.
lot of times it's very common. I would say a lot of clients I work with, it's like, oh, am I being too much? Am I being too braggy? Am I being arrogant? And the way I like to offer to think about it is instead of thinking it's about you, think about how you are actually serving and helping others or your organization. So
Mm.
having that service-oriented mindset of the impact you're making, the contribution that you're making, really thinking from that service mindset, then it's less about you, it's more about through you, how you're helping others. And I find that when I started sharing success stories with my clients, it became easier than just saying like, oh, look at me. I just helped my client do this. It was more like, hey, look at my client. They just got these amazing results and I'm so proud of them. That just becomes so much easier to talk about and doesn't feel like bragging because it feels like
Right.
I'm making a difference. It's life-changing. I'm
Yeah.
helping people not only land jobs, they're becoming more confident. They're making a lot more money
Yes.
than
And you're
before.
lifting others
You're
along with your
lifting
journey.
others. And then
Mm.
from there, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm adding a lot of value. Like
Mm.
part of it's like, I got to give myself a pat on the back, right?
Yeah.
I remember 2 years ago, a business coach asked me, like one of the fellow coaches here on LinkedIn I met, he asked me, he's like, Diana, like, so how much money are you helping your clients make? How much more money you're helping your clients make?
Mm.
You're not asking me how much money I'm making, but like
Yes.
how much more money you're helping your clients make. I was like, that's a very good question. I did the math and I was like, oh my goodness, like the last few years I've helped my clients make incremental over $2 million more
Nice. Yes.
cumulative. And I
Right.
was like, wow, like what I'm charging is such a great deal.
Well, their success is your success, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So then I can
Yeah.
start saying, like, the value, the ROI of coaching, right? That my
Mm.
clients have experienced like X percentage increase, or they double their
Yeah.
income, right? From investing in me. They've earned way more than what they invest. And so that's going to help you become more confident because you're connecting the dots, the value that you're
Mm.
bringing. That is it worth it? Hell yeah. I was like, that totally it's worth
Yeah.
investing coaching in me.
Tangible results.
Tangible
Mhm.
results.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Sarah here really liked your idea of asking others to weigh in, right? When we're just starting out, not sure how to or what to advocate ourselves for, um, having others weigh in, and then we see the proof from that. Great
Yeah.
comment, Sarah. Thank
I'm
you.
really big on that. I'll just use an example. Like even with the fellow coaches, the mastermind I recently assembled, I've had fellow coaches where like, I want to become a LinkedIn instructor or learning
Mm.
instructor, or I want to be doing speaking. For me, like I would advocate for them. I would introduce them to whoever is in charge of this, or I'd either make a recommendation email or make an introduction email. And part of it's because other people have done it for me. And I really believe it's so important
Yeah,
to pay it forward as well.
100%.
Right? Sometimes people they may not know because they don't have that network or that visibility. And it's up to some of us. Like if you've already just a few steps head further to like bring them along the way, that will make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about this journey. So, literally, from what you said about being a quiet voice to now a LinkedIn top voice. Tell us how you got there and what do you think contributed to that?
Oh, that's such a great question. Thank you for that. Well, so I've been creating content since 2013, right? So this is like my 10-year mark this year of
Congrats.
10 years as a content creator. And I would say at first I started really sharing more expertise type of content. And it wasn't really until the last literally 2 years that I started sharing more of my stories, my personal stories, my
Yes.
journey, my struggles, my challenges, like my growing up stories, like being an Asian, or the challenge that I faced, where it's more relatable. And so I feel like part of what has contributed to being a LinkedIn top voice was that one is adding value in terms of to my network and following of value added content that is all
Nice.
about education and helping lift others up. But second is also being more relatable, sharing my own journey and story. And so that people can see the authentic side of me, that I'm not just about all these successes, but it's like, hey, like I've had my struggles too.
Yeah.
So what I like to think about, offer people to think about as well as you go on your own content creation journey. And it doesn't have to be like a LinkedIn top voice, but just how you create your brand and build your network here is I think about voice, value, and visibility. So your voice is essentially around sharing your story and your message, right? That's about your voice, right? Like really speaking up. So as an example, like even recently, I started speaking up more around this course that I'm launching next week for LinkedIn on navigating bias and stereotypes as an Asian American professional. Like honestly, it was one of the most challenging courses I created, but I also felt like there was this responsibility, like being an Asian content creator and entrepreneur, that I had that responsibility to speak up for others, like using my voice to do that. And so really stepping up that game there. The second is really around the value, right? Like really adding value to your network. Like it's about give before you get. Like I'm really big on giving. Like I give a lot of advice, free content out as well. And I just know it's going to pay back in like long term as well. So it's all about value driven content and relationship building. And then lastly is around that visibility, right? Consistently showing up, paying it forward, helping each other out, you're going to build that real reputation for someone who's always out there, like helping others. And that's what I feel right now, that I've been very fortunate and blessed the last few years that I've met some amazing creators on LinkedIn particularly. And why I was able to fill my mastermind so quickly was because of all these relationships I established online there. There's that trust factor and the credibility factor there.
I love it. And I'm watching the time because I know there's things that you need to get to. So I really want to kind of pull up here. Anne has also reinstated it here, some of those LinkedIn courses you mentioned. So why don't you kind of go through the list real quick? I see 5 here. Give us a quick overview of
For
all these different courses you have.
Absolutely. So for those of you who want to learn more about my course content, I have 5 courses on LinkedIn Learning. They're all nano courses, which means they're bite-sized, about 10 minutes long. Each video, it's under like a minute long, type of video content, and it's free, all free to take. So if you go into LinkedIn Learning, you can check out my first course that was launched last year on presenting with confidence. So this is great for anyone, if you're a speaker, a trainer, or if you have like an executive meeting or you need to pitch yourself. This is a great course to take where you'll learn how to craft great content, engage an audience there. The second one that just launched just last month or 2 months ago is on pivoting your career. So for those who are looking to make a change in their career, this is a great course for you. I cover everything from asking those right questions, understand the type of change you're making, overcome the fears, how to build your brand, LinkedIn interviews. I cover all of that in that course. And then the other piece, navigating bias and stereotypes as an Asian American professional, that one's launching next week. It's new, May 30th. That's coming out. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to do a live on that one. And that one, I cover essentially 10 different scenarios around bias and stereotypes as an Asian American professionals and how to deal with it. I provide scripts and I provide tips on that. And then my last 2 courses, it's not out yet, but it's coming. It's around digital networking. So this is all about, especially in the digital world now, like how do you network online effectively? How do you really turn that stranger into a friend? How do you identify like collaboration opportunities there? So that's one's coming on the summer around July, August timeframe. And the last one is increasing visibility at work. So for those who want to learn how to stand out and be seen and to get promoted, this is a great course where I talk a lot about how do you navigate that internally and increasing your visibility there. So I want to end, with this note with those who are here today of this topic of confidence is to really I want to encourage you to express your own story and journey, like share it with the world, because you just never know what may unfold. Express your message that you have, like what you stand for. Like for me, like owning your greatness has been my tagline for a very, very long time. I used to have it on my wall. And to express your essence, which is really your authentic self of who you truly are. Because when you are able to really express that essence of who you are, your story and your message, that's what's really can connect with people, like really through the heart here, that they want to really get to know you and stay in touch with you there.
I love it. And I'll wrap up with this last question that I saw from Paige here. I don't see it, but it ties in and it's a nice wrap up is, if you could give one piece of advice today for people who are pivoting in their career, what would it be?
One piece of advice, get really clear of what you're going after and why. Get really clear on that and get clear on what truly differentiates you. Right? When you know what differentiates you, the way you sell yourself is going to become really much easier, right? Have a great story to tell. Even though if you're not really clear what you want, it's okay. But if you can talk about things that you like and you enjoy and start talking to people about it, people can be like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so, or like, oh, like we should maybe think of this opportunity. Like I just had a client who's looking to pivot from sales, and her passion, like through everything we talked about, like she really enjoys like facilitation work, training work, coaching work. But she sees it's really hard to make that pivot, but there's really actually a lot of similar skills to it. Start talking about that to other people, right? And people be like, okay, let's see if we can create a role for you where you are doing this kind of work, but helping our salespeople or still helping educating our clients, right? So it could be like sometimes that combo type of roles based on your interest there, but you have to start talking about it, right? Sometimes like we're just too in our head. We're just not sure. But if you start talking to people are like, okay, have you thought of this? What about this? Yeah.
I love it. So some of my key takeaways from listening to you is clarity, 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 and coming from self-awareness, right? Knowing our
Yes.
gifts, our zone of genius. I love that
Yes.
term. So for all of you out there, definitely kind of spend that time, to Diana's point, of getting that clarity and getting that zone of genius defined for yourselves. And Diana, what's the best way for people to find you and connect with you?
Yeah, the best way is definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, you can follow me, but send me a DM note. Like, it's free to send a note there. And also, you can check out my website at mymarkability.com. I also have my YouTube channel at Diana YK Chan. I'm on Instagram at Diana YK Chan there.
There you go. And our amazing community manager, Ann Small, will get all those links posted for everyone there. Diana, I want to respect your time. For those of you in the audience, stay for the last 5 minutes. I have a big announcement. But Diana, if you need to run, thank you so, so much for your time and insights and value. I can see from
Oh,
all the
my
comments
pleasure.
that
It
it
was
was
such a fun show. I
such
love that you
great
picked out
value.
this topic, Fanny. So thank you for choosing this topic with me. And this is something I want to talk more about. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll follow up with you as well later on, Fanny. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Enjoy your
you.
evening. Okay, so for those of you out there, I wanted to share something very exciting. Speaking of niching, speaking of clarity, speaking of finding our unique zone of genius and our unique why, for me, I've really kind of wanted to niche down and narrow down my service offerings. To be honest, I realized that I think over time, I was spreading myself a bit thin, and acknowledging that and trying to figure out what to do about that. And as a result of that, I realized that I want to really niche down even further. And for me, it was about looking at who's the best people that I can serve and the industry that I can serve. And so the thing that I've been working on is actually niching down to serving technology firms and technology professionals. And for those of you that are out there, those things will still apply to you, some of the things that I'm going to announce, but that is my next move, and I wanted to announce that to everyone. And I want to share a little bit of what I'm launching. So we're going to be taking a little pause for the Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show, because what I'm going to be doing instead, along with the amazing Ann Small and Rebecca Pulford on the Pathlix team, I'm going to be launching a podcast. So everyone, drum roll. I want to share with you all that I am launching the Tech Legacies video podcast later on this summer. And we've been working on getting the guests and podcast recordings recorded. And it means a lot to me because it was an industry that I started with. I'm a geek at heart, and I love gadgets and technology, and serving them by providing LinkedIn branding, video marketing, and live streaming services. I found that that's kind of where my sweet spot is, in trying to serve too many people all at the same time. So with this Tech Legacies video podcast, what I'm going to be doing is I wanted to share with you that it's dedicated to sharing the career stories, lessons, and advice of technology executives. So what I mean by that is to kind of download, to use a techie term, the advice, lessons, challenges, career journey of what chief information officers, chief technology officers, CEOs of some of the top businesses, how they navigated their career and how they got to the executive level. And I find that there's this gap right now, right? There's been tons of layoffs around technology firms, from Google to Microsoft to Salesforce, and people are getting stuck in that mid-level part of the corporation. And I feel like by hearing the advice from these CIOs, CTOs, they can start to see how to get to that final senior level, executive level of the corporation. And in addition, how to kind of share their voice, right, as technology professionals. And so that's kind of my motivation. For me, sometimes I can't dream until I see it. And so for me, I think it's important to kind of show and highlight people that are rocking it and like really achieving it. And then as a result, that inspires us to lift ourselves up and to step out of our comfort zones and take on that bold new challenge. So that's some of the motivation of it for tech enthusiasts. For all of you, even if you're not in technology, there's going to be tons of career advice and tons of topics. Just to give you a sample, from career advice to leadership, mentorship, networking, mindset, growth, team building, creativity, challenges, lessons. I'm going to go really deep into my conversation with some of them. And some of them are sharing lessons and challenges that they've had that they've never even shared before in public. And we can all learn. And as a result, I think it will demonstrate what kind of legacy they want to leave behind. As I get older and older, I'm like, man, like, what do I want to leave behind? What do you want to leave behind? What kind of legacies do you and the audience want to build? Drop that in the comments. And so think about that. And so as a result, here are just some behind the scenes photos from some of the recordings that are starting to be created. And as a result, they're being packaged and edited. I'm looking for some sponsors to help with promotion and the production of it. So if you know companies that want to sponsor a Tech Legacies video podcast, I would certainly appreciate the help and support. And I wanted to share that with you all. You all have been on this journey with me, with Anne, with Rebecca. And this is something that's important to us and near to our heart, because it's about having them share their lessons and legacy so that it lights the path. It leads others to greatness and to leave a lasting impact. So that's kind of where we're coming from. So if you can remember that, we're going to be working on launching it. I'm going to bring Anne onto here because we're going to be doing a big brainstorming session and planning session around that. And we'll be launching the Tech Legacies video podcast very, very soon. So thank you, everyone, for all your support. We're just going to pause the Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show for a while we get this launched and ready. And what do you think, Anne?
I think we got to give away our last prize, or people are going to be like, how did it end without the prize?
Yes.
It's super exciting.
Okay. So for,
Awesomeness.
I love these comments. Thank you. Thank you. We'll continue to go to the
I know.
comments later. Who
so
had
exciting.
our best question and comment of the day, Anne?
Well, the best question tied in with actually how we even ended the show. It's funny how things worked out. Lots of great comments and questions, everybody. We will go back in there and look at them all. But I was looking at Paige Ryan's. If you could give one piece of advice today for people who are pivoting in their career, what would it be? And then she went in to tell her, you talk about it and more about it. And then you started to talk about it. So the whole thing kind of fell
All
together.
these
So
pivots.
Paige Ryan is the winner.
Congrats,
Yeah.
Paige. So be sure to send your address to Anne and I'll get a tripod sent off to you. So something for your own content creation journey, Paige. I hope to see you putting it to good use to create content. Well, thank you, Anne, and thank you, audience. Thank you for all your love and support. And we'll be pausing and look for new news around Tech Legacies video podcasts. And we'll see you all very, very soon, and especially online. Thank you, everybody. And continue to shine your light, share your message, share your gifts. And I hope you'll do it through video. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anne.